Welcome to Veganism 101. I am Kyle Uzinski, the founder and executive director of Project Animal Freedom, a 501c3 nonprofit organization working to build a fully vegan Midwest by 2056. And this is our Veganism 101 class and Dominion screening, the first educational training module in our St. Louis Veganuary Challenge event series. Tonight, we will discuss what veganism is and isn't, the environmental impacts of animal agriculture, the health benefits of a plant-based lifestyle, plus practical, realistic tips to help you go and stay vegan, especially part of our St. Louis Veganuary Challenge. First, a little about Project Animal Freedom, aka PATH, the organization behind our inaugural St. Louis Veganuary campaign. PATH was founded on October 19th of 2018 with a simple vision, a world where all animals live safe, happy, and free from needless harm, exploitation, and oppression. More specifically, we are working to build a fully vegan Midwest by 2056 through a strategic chapter-based system that emphasizes grassroots community building, robust digital outreach, and innovative campaigns. Our exact vision? Thriving vegan communities across Midwest that build a world where animals live safe, happy, and free from factory farms, slaughterhouses, and other animal abusing institutions. As part of our commitment to build a fully vegan Midwest by 2056, we are organizing St. Louis's first high-profile Veganuary campaign. Veganuary is the world's most successful campaign to inspire vegan living, specifically in the month of January. Approximately 25.8 million people reportedly participated in Veganuary in 2025, with millions more experimenting with plant-based eating as a result of the campaign. We are bringing this campaign firmly into St. Louis for the first time ever, and we have already reached over 300,000 people as part of our local St. Louis Veganuary Challenge. You are the first participants in our first ever Veganism 101 class as part of our overarching St. Louis Veganuary campaign. Thank you for joining and for trying vegan this January. Now, raise your hand if you are already vegan. Good! Raise your hand if you are veg curious. Excellent. Finally, raise your hand if you are excited for Veganuary. Fantastic. That looks like all of us. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now that we've overviewed Project Animal Freedom and our St. Louis Veganuary Challenge, let's advance to the plant-based meat and potatoes for tonight's presentation. Starting with this, what is veganism and what is it not? According to the Vegan Society, the world's oldest vegan organization, veganism is a philosophy and way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as is possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose, and by extension promotes the development and use of animal-free alternatives for the benefit of animals, humans, and the environment. In dietary terms, it denotes the practice of dispensing with all products derived wholly or partly from animals. But veganism isn't just a diet, a lifestyle, or a philosophy. It's a social justice movement founded upon justice, love, respect, and compassion for all. It is rooted in an opposition to cruelty, exploitation, and oppression. It opposes needless harm and unnecessary suffering. But it is first and foremost about justice for all beings, especially non-human animals who are so often neglected from conversations about social justice and social justice advocacy work. From climate change and food insecurity to worker exploitation and chronic disease, there is hardly a single social justice issue that isn't positively influenced by the adoption of a more plant-based lifestyle. As I have testified in the past, veganism is a multidimensional social justice solution, a Swiss Army knife that positively impacts the world in a huge variety of ways. There are few actions as far-reaching and consequential as the decision to go vegan, few acts with such power to save animals, fellow human beings, and the planet. Veganism is therefore first and foremost about justice. Justice for non-human animals, justice for human beings, and justice for the planet. But what isn't veganism? Veganism is not about perfection. It's about doing as much as we reasonably can to not be complicit in animal use, abuse, and exploitation, beginning with what we eat and extending to other areas of our lives. As PETA has summarized, animals are not ours to experiment on, eat, wear, use for entertainment, or abuse in any other way. As vegans, we therefore not only oppose supporting factory farms and slaughterhouses, we oppose all animal abusing institutions and practices, from cruelty toward cats, dogs, and horses to cruelty towards cows, chickens, pigs, and every other animal in the world. It is a fundamentally consistent position. All animal abuse, exploitation, and oppression is wrong, regardless of the victim or their species. We oppose all animal abuse, exploitation, and oppression whenever, wherever, and however it arises. And this unwavering belief gives us tremendous clarity as we build a world where animals no longer suffer and die needlessly. All oppression is fundamentally unjust, and we oppose it with every fiber of our beings. As we have therefore established, veganism is not just a diet. It is a way of living, a way of being, a way of relating to other beings and opposing their oppression. That said, what we eat is absolutely instrumental to animal liberation. Beyond the sum total of environmental devastation caused by human activity and the ideologies at the root of such behaviors, raising and killing animals for food is far and away the main driver of animal death and suffering in our day-to-day lives. And by not eating animals, we can spare dozens of animals every year from a lifetime of suffering in a factory farm and a brutal death in a slaughterhouse. And that is deeply empowering. All said, veganism is a liberation philosophy that demands action, living in alignment with our shared values of justice, love, respect, and compassion for all. It is not merely a diet. It is not even just a lifestyle. It is a movement that prioritizes the rights, lives, and well-being of all animals, demanding freedom and justice for all. Let's advance now to the environmental impacts of animal agriculture. As documentaries like Cowspiracy and Eating Our Way to Extinction reveal, animal agriculture is a driving force of environmental destruction around the globe. Animal agriculture is indeed the leading driver of Amazon deforestation, habitat and biodiversity loss, and water depletion and pollution, including ocean dead zones, and it is a key driver of climate change, desertification, and species extinction. As the landmark 2006 United Nations FAO report Livestock's Long Shadow concludes, the livestock sector emerges as one of the top 2 or 3 most significant contributors to the most serious environmental problems at every scale, from local to global. And its impact is so significant that it needs to be addressed with urgency. To put this into perspective, here are just a few jaw-dropping statistics about the astonishing environmental impacts of animal agriculture. For starters, approximately 30% of Earth's ice-free land is used for animal agriculture. That's an area of land roughly the size of the entire continent of Africa, land that could be rewilded, reforested, and returned to nature. More specifically, livestock uses roughly 77% of global agricultural land, including both pasture and land to grow animal feed, but provides only roughly 18% of global food calories and roughly 37% of global protein. That means plant-based agriculture uses only 23% of global agricultural land while producing roughly 2/3 of global protein. We waste enough food on animal agriculture every year, in fact, to feed every hungry human being on Earth, including all 730 million or so malnourished people in the world. As Philip Wolin, distinguished animal rights advocate, philanthropist, and former vice president of Citibank, pleaded in his unforgettable address at the Animals Should Be Off the Menu debate, every morsel of meat we eat is slapping the tear-stained face of a starving child. Why? Because, as he put it, the earth can produce enough for everyone's need, but not enough for everyone's greed. If that wasn't mind-blowing enough, animal agriculture is responsible for more greenhouse gas emissions than the entire global transport sector, even by the most conservative estimates. That means animal agriculture causes more greenhouse gas pollution than every car, truck, plane, train, and every other mode of transportation on Earth combined. More recent analyses peg animal agriculture's contribution to the climate crisis at roughly 30 to 35%, especially when you account for land use changes and other so-called externalities connected to animal ag. Enteric methane and manure from ruminants, for example, account for over 32% of global anthropogenic methane emissions, a greenhouse gas roughly 80 times as warming as CO2 per unit mass on a 20-year timescale. As Dr. Joseph Poore, a climate and food systems scientist at the University of Oxford and an IPCC contributing author, has put it, a vegan diet is probably the single biggest way to reduce your impact on planet Earth. He adds, it is far bigger than cutting down on your flights or buying an electric car. Moreover, he argues that avoiding consumption of animal products delivers far better environmental benefits than trying to produce sustainable meat and dairy, noting that converting grass into meat is like converting coal to energy. Simply put, the same proteins and calories can be sourced at a fraction of the environmental cost, all through the simple but profound power of a plant based diet. The environmental impacts of animal agriculture are absolutely staggering, and how could they not be when we raise nearly 90 billion animals per year for food? But the environmental opportunities of going vegan are at least equally as vast. By going vegan, we can not only prevent animal deaths, but circumvent easily preventable environmental devastation. Going vegan is therefore truly among the most impactful things we can do as individuals to help combat climate change, water scarcity, deforestation, desertification, and so many other environmental ills facing our increasingly embattled planet. With the environmental consequences of animal agriculture and the opportunities for environmental protection by going vegan held in clearer focus, let's advance now to the health benefits of a plant-based lifestyle. The opportunity for health, healing, and well-being presented by a healthy vegan diet is one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, people go vegan. And it is true, you can greatly improve your health simply by going vegan, but especially by consuming a whole food plant-based diet. That said, you can obtain many of the most important benefits of a plant-based lifestyle simply by eating a more plant-based foods while making a conscious effort to avoid the least nutritious of plant-based foods, potato chips, soda, and the like. As the leading body on nutrition in the U.S. writes in its official position paper, it is the position of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics that, in adults, appropriately planned vegetarian and vegan dietary patterns can be nutritionally adequate and can offer long-term health benefits such as improving several health outcomes associated with cardiometabolic diseases. They add, this position paper is supported by current evidence, including several systematic reviews. Moreover, they note that promoting a nutrient-balanced vegetarian dietary pattern on both individual and community scales may be an effective tool for preventing and managing many diet-related conditions. They conclude by noting that this position was improved very recently in January of 2025 and will remain in effect until December 31st of 2032. There you have it. The leading body on nutrition in the US stating that appropriately planned vegetarian and vegan diets can be nutritionally adequate and can support long-term health and improved outcomes for cardiometabolic disease. Put simply, plant-based diets can help reduce risk for heart disease, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, certain cancers, and cardiometabolic diseases and related outcomes in general. Going vegan, and especially eating a healthy, whole food, plant-based diet, can reduce the risk of developing and ultimately succumbing to many of our nation's top killers, from heart disease to stroke to diabetes and beyond. And this is often true even if you don't pay terribly close attention to what you eat. Plant-based diets in general are associated with higher intakes of dietary fiber, folate, vitamin C, vitamin E, carotenoids/antioxidants, magnesium, potassium, and phytochemicals/polyphenols from fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, seeds, and whole grains. Studies even exist suggesting that some ultra-processed plant-based products, like certain vegan patties, can still compare favorably to many animal-based alternatives. That said, we need to be mindful that we eat a healthy, balanced diet and pay close attention to key nutrients like vitamin B12 that can be harder to obtain on a vegan diet. Fortunately, there are literally thousands of supplements and fortified foods on the market that you can enjoy, making going and staying vegan entirely doable from a health perspective. It is at this juncture that we now advance from the what and the why of veganism to the how. Here are some practical tips to help you succeed along your plant-based journey. Number 1, educate yourself. Read books and articles about veganism. Watch YouTube videos and documentaries about veganism and animal rights. Attend our remaining classes in this series, including our Vegan Meal Prep 101 class next Thursday. Seek out recipes, use Google to research areas of curiosity surrounding veganism, and experiment in the kitchen, at the grocery store, and while out to eat. Number two, expose yourself to vegan culture. Try any of St. Louis's more than one dozen fabulous vegan restaurants. Go to our vegan meetups, including our vegan brunch at Adina's Vegan Cuisine this Sunday. Attend marches, protests, and demonstrations. Get involved in the movement and connect with like-minded people. Number three, seek support. Come to our events not only for community, but for the support it provides in spirit, in knowledge, in unity, and in shared purpose. Email us and ask to connect with one of our vegan mentors, especially during this Veganuary. And never be afraid to ask questions about veganism and seek the support you need to not only take the plant-based plunge, but help build the vegan utopia we envision. A world where all beings know the joys of freedom, the splendors of life, and the securities of justice. So there you have it. The trifecta, the three most commonly cited reasons for going vegan: for our health, for our planet, and we would argue most importantly, for the animals, alongside a handful of practical tips for doing so. These three reasons exist in a natural fundamental alignment with each other, caring about ourselves, caring about animals, and caring about the planet we live upon. But veganism isn't just about health benefits, practical guidance, or even environmental protection. It is first and foremost about justice for all, even the smallest, most vulnerable, and marginalized among us. It is a social justice movement rooted in justice, love, respect, and compassion, and further defined by its explicit rejection of cruelty, exploitation, and oppression. It exists not only as a revolution in compassion, but as a logical extension of the principles of nonviolence, justice, and ethical coexistence with all animal kind. It is a peace philosophy, a social justice movement, and a cause for meaning, celebration, and action. As Philip Wolin so powerfully put it, using words he framed through Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., peace is not the absence of war, it is the presence of justice. And in his unforgettable phrasing, animals are not just other species, they are other nations, and we murder them at our peril. So tonight, in the spirit of his message, let's get the animals off the menu and out of these torture chambers. Let's go vegan and embrace justice for all. Because there is no higher calling than living in alignment with justice, and no higher virtue than fighting to free others from oppression. Freedom for all means freedom for animals. Now let's go free them. What are you waiting for?